the world, and we can see how Srila Prabhupada created a house in which the whole world can live. And so wherever we go, there are temples. Srila Prabhupada said, "My temples are embassies of the spiritual world." And so wherever you go, you feel at home. So it's very nice to be here with all of you in Phoenix. And yes, we will try to share some thoughts with you today. Ishvara Gauranga Prabhu suggested that we do questions and answers. I can speak something and then maybe you have some questions. Do you have some questions? A few questions maybe? Okay, so I will speak a few things. I will not speak so long. And then maybe we can have some exchange and have some questions and answers. Is that okay? Because after all of our scriptures are in the form of questions and answers. So maybe we'll read something from Bhagavad Gita. I think the harmonium is coming, so we'll wait for that. I'll just give a little bit of an introduction. Recently we were in New York, and in New York Srila Prabhupada had come very early. We know that he had begun his movement in 1965 by coming to New York. And we went to the place actually where Srila Prabhupada's typewriter was stolen, because Srila Prabhupada was translating Bhagavad Gita and other shastras on his typewriter, and at one point it was all stolen, but Srila Prabhupada always remained very, very determined, and eventually he published the Bhagavad Gita. And the Bhagavad Gita is very, very special because it's said that in Satya Yuga, then what happened is that the Lord, in the form of Vamandev, pierced the universal covering with his toe, isn't it? When he was interacting with Bali. And then later on, the waters of the causal ocean bathed the lotus feet of the Lord, and then that causal ocean entered into the universe through all the planetary systems and then came into this earth in the form of Ganga. And therefore it's said that when one bathes in the Ganga, then the flow of the Ganga, if you bathe in that, then it takes you towards the lotus feet of the Lord. Then later on it's said that the Lord came to the world and spoke the nectarian words of the Bhagavad Gita. And therefore it's said that the Bhagavad Gita is the Ganga which is flowing from the mouth of the Lord. And therefore anyone who bathes in the words of the Bhagavad Gita then eventually comes face to face with the Lord, because the flow of these words bring you face to face with the Lord. And then it said that in Kali Yuga, you know how the Ganga came in Kali Yuga? If in an earlier Yuga, the Ganga came in the flow of the waters of the Ganges, and if it said that in Dwapara Yuga the Ganga came in the form of the words of the Lord speaking the Bhagavad Gita, then it said that in Kali Yuga the Ganga came to the world in the form of the tears coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eyes when he chanted in Kirtan. And therefore, just as bathing in the Ganga takes you to the Lord's lotus feet, just as hearing the words of the Bhagavad Gita takes you face to face with the form of the Lord, that actually drowning yourself in the Kirtan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually takes you into the heart of the Lord. So these are the gifts that are being given to us: the holy name, the holy places, and of course the holy books like Bhagavad Gita. So we will read a little bit from Bhagavad Gita, but we'll just first sing a little bit. कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll read from Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 18, text number 54, chapter entitled Conclusion, the Perfection of Renunciation. So it's a very famous verse, and all of you are Shruti Dharas, good memories, so you can repeat after me. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Sochati na Kankshati Samma Sarveshu Bhuteshu Madbhaktim Labhate Param. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Sochati na Kankshati Samma Sarveshu Bhuteshu Madbhaktim Labhate Param. Just in the interest of time, I'll read the translation and the purport myself. Translation. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Purport. To the impersonalist, achieving the Brahmabhuta stage, becoming one with the Absolute, is the last word. But for the personalist or pure devotee, one has to go still further to become engaged in pure devotional service. This means that one who is engaged in pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord is already in a state of liberation called Brahmabhuta, oneness with the Absolute. Without being one with the Supreme, the Absolute, one cannot render service unto Him. In the Absolute conception, there is no difference between the served and the servitor, yet the distinction is there in a higher spiritual sense. In the material concept of life, when one works for sense gratification, there is misery. But in the absolute world, when one is engaged in pure devotional service, there is no misery. The devotee in Krishna consciousness has nothing for which to lament or desire. Since God is full, a living entity who is engaged in God's service in Krishna consciousness becomes also full in himself. He is just like a river cleansed of all dirty water. Because a pure devotee has no thought other than Krishna, he is naturally always joyful. He does not lament for any material loss or aspire for gain, because he is full in the service of the Lord. He has no desire for material enjoyment, because he knows that every living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and therefore eternally a servant. He does not see in the material world someone as higher and someone as lower. Higher and lower positions are ephemeral, and a devotee has nothing to do with ephemeral appearances or disappearances. For him, stone and gold are of the same value, equal value. This is the Brahmabhuta stage, and this stage is attained very easily by the pure devotee. In that stage of existence, the idea of becoming one with the Supreme Brahman and annihilating one's individuality becomes hellish. The idea of attaining the heavenly kingdom becomes a phantasmagoria, and the senses are like serpents whose poison teeth are broken. As there is no fear of a serpent with broken teeth, there is no fear from the senses when they are automatically controlled. The world is miserable for the materially infected person, But for a devotee, the entire world is as good as Vaikuntha or the spiritual sky. The highest personality in this material universe is no more significant than an ant for a devotee. Such a state can be achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who preached pure devotional service in this age. Srila Prabhupada ki Jaya. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So here in this verse, Krishna is telling Arjuna what are all the characteristics of someone who is considered very advanced on the path of self-realization. If one wants to actually render pure devotional service to Krishna, then they have to be situated in the Brahma Bhuta stage. The Brahma Bhuta stage means someone who is completely understanding that they are a spiritual being. And when you completely understand you're a spiritual being, the very first qualifications are na sochati, na kankshati. You have no lamentation over the past, and you have no hankering for the future. The first quality whereby you'll know that you are fully situated in your spiritual identity is you'll be completely satisfied and content in the present moment. How many people in this world are able to be completely present in one place at one time? Generally, our mind, our body, our desires, our consciousness is all over the place, isn't it? But when one is a spiritual being, they can sit in one place and be fully present. Then samma sarveshu bhuteshu, they look at all living entities as the same. They make no discrimination that this is my person and this is another culture, another group, another division of people. They do not see or make distinction or discriminate on externals, because they're seeing that within everyone there is a spiritual soul. And in that way, samma sarveshu bhuteshu. Srila Prabhupada was driving by the United Nations, and he said, I'm not sure how this is the United Nations, because every time I drive past, there are more and more flags. So you say United Nations, but there are more and more flags, which means superficially you are coming together, but in reality there is more and more division. And Krishna therefore says that these are the characteristics by which you can understand you are on the spiritual level. But let us begin at the beginning, and today just reflect on the very first thing that Krishna says in this verse. Na sochati. One who is spiritual has no lamentation over the past. Put your hand up if you have no lamentation about anything from the past. I don't think one person can put their hand up, because for the most part there is always something from the past that we are holding on to, isn't it? Most people in this world are prisoners of the past. What kind of things in the past do you think still hijack our consciousness? Can you share any ideas with me? What from the past is still going on in our minds and hearts which prevents us from living in the present now? Anything you can think of?
Failures.
Failures. Yes, sometimes you fail, you do something wrong, you make a mistake, and then it's very, very difficult to get that out of your mind. Sometimes that continues to haunt you. Very good. What else are you holding on from the past?
Disagreements with someone.
Disagreements with someone. That's a big one, isn't it? 27 and a half years ago, on Saturday morning, you said something to me. It's amazing how people hold on. I remember, I think you may be able to relate to it. Indian families means big history of arguments from the past that people have not let go of. So difficult to let go of relationship strains from the past. Yes, what else are we holding on to from the past? Anything else?
False pride of successes.
A false pride of success. So a sense that, yes, I achieved something, I'm good, and we keep holding on to that, not realizing that time has moved on, and we also have to move on and not just live in our previous glory. Thank you. Yes?
Physical and emotional trauma.
Physical and emotional trauma. There are things that happen to us that still weigh very heavily in our hearts. Maybe some difficult situation. Maybe even someone passed away from our life. And still many, many years later, we're not able to move on and let go of these things. And therefore we are constantly imprisoned by our past, lamenting. Anything else? Yes?
Fear.
Fear. Yes. What kind of fear? What are you fearful about? What's going to be for Prasadam today? No, I'm sure you're not. Yes. What kind of fears do you think people have?
Death and birth.
Death and birth. Yes. Very good. Death and birth. Wow. Yes. Very good. Anything else?
Mistakes.
Mistakes. Yes. We mentioned that. Mistakes and failures.
So many lifetimes we have already tried for sense gratification. We have failed so many times, and still we have a goal this life also for sense gratification.
Okay, so we're still holding on to desires that we haven't been able to fulfill. So can you see? Sometimes people say, I have no time for Krishna consciousness. But one of the reasons they don't have time is because so much of their mind is still invested in the past. So much of our mind, if you added together all the thoughts of the past, all the frustrations of the past, all the times that we're contemplating on the past, and the amount that we become slowed down in our life because we're still holding on to the past, that would add up to a lot of time. So if you want to move forward in your life, we have to stop looking back. And shall I tell you, we can also become prisoners of the past by positive memories of the past as well. In English they call this nostalgia. It will never be like that again. Those were the good old days. That was the perfect time in my life, and it will never be the same. And therefore we're constantly thinking about how good it was at that time. I am here in Phoenix, but when I was in India, then we're thinking, It's nice, but it's not like that, how it was. Maybe it will never be like that again. And therefore we never allow ourselves to experience the new beauty of life because we're always holding on to the old memories, even if they were good memories. Shall I tell you one thing? Your memory of the past is usually not very accurate. In psychology, they talk about something called the peak end principle. Have you ever heard of this? When we remember the past, we don't generally remember the entirety of our past. If you're thinking about a past time in your life, then what you generally remember is the peak emotion of that time and the end emotion of that time. So if you had a very, very good time in your past, but the peak emotion, there was one very big challenge, and the end emotion was very challenging, then what you will do, you will frame the whole of that period of your life as very challenging. But actually that's not true. There were many beautiful things, but we generally only remember the peak and the end emotion. And it works the other way around as well. If it was a very challenging, a very difficult time, but the peak emotion was very, very positive and the end emotion, then we think of it as a great time. That was a great time in my life. When actually, if you go back and live in that time in your life, for most of it you are actually miserable. So we tell people, not everything in your memory happened in history. And not everything that happened in history is in your memory. Isn't it? Not everything in your memory happened in history, because the way we remember things is not what actually happened. And many times what actually happened in that time is not in our memory, because we tend to filter things out. And therefore, one of the great arts of life is, if you want to move forward, then you have to stop looking back and lamenting. Once I was on Vrindavan Parikrama, and as you've seen when I walked in today, I'm quite tall. And as I was walking on the Parikrama Marg, one Bengali, old Bengali man walked right beside me. Now, no offense to Bengalis, but they're usually quite short. So he was half my size. And he was double my age. But as I was walking on the Parikrama Marg, he just floated right past me. And as he walked straight past me, I said, "Hey, how is he able to walk so fast? He's half my size, double my age, and he's walking so much faster than me." So I tell you, this was mystical experience. So I said to myself, no, I can't let him walk faster than me. So I started walking faster. I have long legs, no? I can walk fast. As I started walking faster and faster, he was disappearing further and further away from me. I said, "Hey, how is this possible?" I'm not joking with you. At one point, I was practically running. And still he was disappearing in front of me. I was completely thinking like this, who is he? Some demigod maybe? Did you know that in Jagannath Puri, even today, the demigods come to have darshan of Jagannath? Yes. And do you know, sometimes they come disguised as just the local people, but actually they're demigods. And you know how to tell it's a demigod? 3 things. If you ever find someone who doesn't blink, if you ever find someone whose body doesn't cast a shadow, and if you ever find someone whose feet don't touch the ground, then you can understand. Looks like a normal person, but it's the devatas coming in disguise to have darshan of Jagannath. So I was looking closely. I said, hey, is this a demigod or something? Who is this? So in my mind I was praying, look back, because I didn't see him. He just walked past me, so I only saw the back of his head. So I was praying, look back. But no matter how much I prayed, he never looked back. He just kept walking forward so fast that he disappeared out of my sight. And then I was thinking, who was that person? And then later on, when I finished the parikrama, then he was standing there on the side with the coconut juice. So he was drinking the coconut juice, and I stopped and I said, hey, it was him. So my eyes met his eyes. I looked at him and he started smiling at me. Maybe he understood what was in my mind. So I thought, shall I go and speak to him? And I thought, no, I'll just pay my pranam. So I bowed down to him. I said, I think you are a special person. And as I paid my pranams, he also paid his pranams. But my realization from that incident was, when you don't look back, then you move forward very, very quickly. But what happens in our life is we're constantly looking back on the history. We're looking back on the past. And therefore we're not able to let go. So I'll give you a very, very simple formula in your life. Instead of looking back, look up, look within, and look forward. This is basically what Krishna is teaching us in the Bhagavad Gita. Na sochati. Whatever has happened has happened. Don't constantly lament about the past. First thing is, instead of looking back, look up. Look at Krishna. Look at God and understand that Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna is your best friend and He's control of everything. And therefore, if He arranged your past in a certain way, instead of becoming frustrated about how things happened, become inquisitive to try to understand, why did Krishna arrange it like that? And what can I learn from all of those things that happened to me? It's not that everything that happened in our past was good, but it is that something good can come from everything that happened in the past. And therefore, when we look up and we remember Krishna is in charge of everything, and Krishna is ultimately controlling all the movements of the living entities in this world, then instead of looking back and lamenting, we can look up at God and realize that yes, He engineered things in a certain way, and whatever His arrangements were, I can always move forward and rise higher from those situations. The second thing is we have to look within ourselves. Krishna says, where you are doesn't determine who you are. The soul always has free will. The soul is always empowered to design its destiny. It doesn't matter where you are and what decisions brought you or what situations brought you to your present condition. When we look within and realize that yes, Krishna has given us the free will, that means that we always have the power to say this is not how the story is going to end. We always have the power to create a new life for ourselves. There are always more doors of opportunity that the soul can walk through. And therefore the soul, it doesn't matter what situation it's been subjected to in the past, has the full power to create a new destiny, a new future for itself. And therefore we look within and realize the empowerment which Krishna has given us. And then, instead of looking back, we look around, we look forward, and we see all the opportunities that Krishna is presenting to us now. Oftentimes what will happen in your life is Krishna will close one door. He may close an opportunity, He may close a relationship, He may close a particular chapter of your life, He may close a loving connection that you had with something or someone. And what happens is that instead of looking around and seeing the other 5 things that Krishna has opened up, we constantly stay fixated on that which has closed in our life. So remember, instead of looking back and looking at all the things which have closed and ended in life, rather Krishna says, look around, look ahead, and see all the opportunities that are opening up and all the beautiful things, the doors that you can walk through. And so in this way, Krishna is teaching Arjuna, na sochati. The basic problem of people in this world is they have too much lamentation. It's said that the demigods, their basic consciousness is bhoga. It's said that the animal forms, their basic consciousness is bhaya. Isn't it? Have you seen a bird, a pigeon eating? As it's eating, what is it constantly doing? Looking around. Someone will attack me. Someone will attack me. So the demigods, they are in bhoga. The animal life forms, they are in bhaya. But it's said that the human life form, they are practically always in shoka, lamentation. One of our acharyas confirms this because he says the very first thing that Krishna says to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, asocyan anvasochastvam pragyavadamscha bhashashe gatasun agatasumscha nanu sochanti pandita. The wise do not lament. Don't lament, Arjuna. So the acharyas say the Bhagavad Gita begins with Krishna telling Arjuna, don't lament. And how does Krishna end the Bhagavad Gita? Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam saranam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yishyami ma sucha. In the translation, Srila Prabhupada writes, do not fear. But sucha or soche also can literally mean do not lament. The first thing that Krishna tells to Arjuna is don't lament. And the last message that Krishna leaves Arjuna with is don't lament. And Jiva Goswami says the whole of the Gita is framed within these 2 instructions because our basic problem in life is that we are always lamenting. We are prisoners of the past. Today we were doing a program and I was telling the story of Nelson Mandela, who when he was freed from prison, then one devotee came to him and said, would you like a Bhagavad Gita? And Mandela said, I already read it, because there was a Hindu who was a fellow inmate in the prison. And the devotee was impressed and said to Mandela, what did you learn? He said, what I learned is that the day I left prison, if I didn't also give up my bitterness, my frustration, my negativity, and my lamentation for what had happened to me in the past, then even though walking free from the jail, I would be still imprisoned by my own emotions. Most people in this world are prisoners of the past, mostly prisoners of bad memories, and also sometimes prisoners of good memories, but imprisoned by these emotions such that they are not free to experience the totality of what life can be. And therefore, here Krishna is reminding us, don't keep looking back. Instead, look up and be grateful for the arrangements of God. Then look within and be grateful for the empowerment that you've been given as a spirit soul by Krishna to change your life. And thirdly, look forward and around and identify all the opportunities that are there in front of you now. And if we look up, within and around, then what happens is our life will move in a very, very beautiful way, and in that way we can be achieving the goal and the fruit of what this human form of life is meant for. Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much for your kind attention. So these are just some words I wanted to share with you, and perhaps if you have any questions or comments, or if there's anything more you would like to know about, then we can have a little bit of a discussion. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. So is looking at back or your past, is it always negative or is it always bad? Is there any positive that you can get by looking at your back, in your past, like learning from your mistake, or being grateful or gratitude? Because before I was a devotee, I was doing so many bad things. Now I have an opportunity to advance, so like I'm grateful for
Yes, so is there some value to looking back in our life? Yes. When we look back in our life, we look back to learn. But when we look back and we're lamenting in the past, we're living in the past, that becomes a problem. So you're exactly right. We should learn from the past. Things happened. Mistakes were made. Traumas came to me. What can I learn from all of these things? Therefore I said, look up and realize that God is arranging everything. So why did He arrange things in such a way that it happened like that? What lesson can I learn? What can I be grateful for? Therefore, yes, we can look back, but we look back to learn from the past. But when people look back because they want to live in the past or lament about the past, then that becomes very, very debilitating in your life. How many conversations have you had even in the devotee community where you talk to someone and month after month, year after year, they keep bringing up the same history of something that happened? Isn't it? And this devotee did this, and this happened to me, and constantly talking about the past. This kind of mentality will debilitate us and stop us from progressing. So yes, we should learn from the past. It's said that experience is a great teacher. And so there's so many things that we can learn if we're reflective and introspective from the past. But once we've learned the lesson, we have to live in the present. So mode of ignorance means you're living in the past. Mode of passion means you're living in the future. But mode of goodness means you learn from the past, you plan for the future, but you live in the present. So learn from the past, plan for the future, but live in the present. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has that nice poem, no? I can't remember the exact line. Maybe someone knows it. I'll find it for you in a second. I'll tell you in a second. Yes, is there another question? Yes.
Maharaj, thank you so much for a wonderful class. It's philosophically makes sense that we should live in the present, but practically it's difficult. So could you give us any practical ways
of how to
live in the present?
live in the present?
We get bogged down, as you said, from the past, and it's tough to get to a different mode.
Yes. Someone also asked that question this morning, that why do we constantly gravitate to the past or the present? to the past or the future, and why are we not able to live in the present? And I'll give you the same answer I gave to him. The main way we can escape from living in the past is to make our present so exciting, so enchanting, so captivating, so empowering, so interesting, that there's no need to go to the past or the future. The main reason why people and their mind goes to the past or the future is because the present is an anticlimax. When your present life is boring, when your present life doesn't have enough excitement, when you're not perceiving the magic of Krishna's hand in the here and now, then constantly we're looking towards the past and the present because our mind is not satisfied. But when your mind is satisfied, when your mind is connected, then what will happen is that naturally, why would you go to the past? I gave the person the example that when you're in a class or a kirtan, if you're actually connected, if you're actually resonating with the message or resonating with the sound vibration, then it's so interesting, it's so captivating that in that moment, do you think about the past or the future? No, because you're completely absorbed in what's going on. But when you're in a class or a kirtan and you're not absorbed, then the mind is in so many different places. So, therefore, we have to make our life interesting. We have to make life an adventure. We have to take risks for Krishna and try to meet Krishna, come face to face with Krishna. And when you take risks and try to come face to face with Krishna, it becomes such a wondrous journey that there's no need to live in the past. Because if the present is so wonderful, let the past sleep. Yes. Okay, I see many hands. Okay, we'll go. Prabhu, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Yes. I'm just trying to find this song because I want to. Yes, please tell me, Prabhu. I'm listening. Don't be. I'm just looking at my phone because I'm trying to get this song. But yeah, you please continue. I'm listening.
Maharaji, actually we are all I have one out of mind question. Actually we read the history, Bhagavatam, Itihas, Puran, all they are the past. Our life is connected with sometimes with this history, like a Krishna Katha, other story, Ram Katha, whatever. Those things come to the present, or we have to make the future by that, you know.
Yes, so we learn from the Shastra.
Because all Shastra is the history, past.
Yes, Purana means very old.
Very old, I mean.
Itihas, you know what itihas means? Iti means thus. Hasa means happened. So the literal meaning of the word itihas is thus it happened. In other words, it's a history. So therefore, yes, Chanakya Pandit, he says, Chanakya or is in Niti, Prahata Dyuti Prasangena Madhyama Stri Prasangataha Ratra Chauri Prasangena Kalo Gachati Dhimahi. He says, you know how an intelligent person spends their time? Prahata Dyuti Prasangena. In the morning they speak about gambling. Madhyama Stri Prasangataha. In the afternoon they speak about women. Ratra Chauri Prasangena. And in the evening they speak about stealing. Kalo Gachati Dhimahi. Intelligent person thus passes their time. Really? Yes, because in the morning they are speaking about gambling, but not just about any gambling. They're speaking about the gambling from the Mahabharata. In the afternoon they are speaking about women, but yes, they are speaking from the Ramayana about the incredible character of Sita Devi. And in the evening they are speaking about stealing, not the fraud of the governments and so on and so forth, but because they're speaking about Krishna, who is the supreme thief. Vraje prasidam navanita choram gopan gananam chadukula choram. So yes, we must learn from the past. We must learn from the itihas. Everything that these personalities went through are the things that we are going to go through. They made mistakes. We should learn from those mistakes. And therefore, yes, again, we are looking back, but not to live in the past of our life, but rather we are looking to learn lessons so that we can re-enter into that spiritual reality. So yes, Puranas are the histories, but Puranas and Shastra are meant to help you to empower your life to serve Krishna in the here and now. Then Shastra performs its function because it purifies your consciousness so that you can give your heart and mind to Krishna now. After Krishna taught Arjuna the whole Bhagavad Gita, then Krishna didn't want Arjuna to just stay there on the chariot and continue doing Harikatha. Of course, Harikatha always must go on, but Krishna also wanted Arjuna to act. And therefore, Arjuna said, Nashtamoha smrite labdva tvat prasadat mayachyuta stitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. See, this is the point. Karishye vachanam tava. Once you have heard everything from the Shastra, once you've heard everything from the Guru, once you've heard everything from the histories, once you've grasped the knowledge of the Puranas, then karishye vachanam tava. Then you have to live it. Then you have to practice it. And then you have to serve Krishna. Because bhaktyama abhijanati. Then you will come face to face with Krishna. Is that okay? Let me just read this. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur says very, very beautifully. Forget the past that sleeps, and never the future dream at all, but act in times that are with thee, and progress thee shall call. Very beautiful, he writes in this poem, O Saragrahi Vaishnava. So this is a Saragrahi Vaishnava, you understand? Saragrahi means to grasp the essence of life and not to hang on to unnecessary things. Thank you. I saw some hands. Yes, Prabhu?
Maharaj, I had a couple of questions. One is related to your talk and one is not related. I had heard of Maharaj, I'm not sure whether it was your quote or someone else's, but it said the materialist encourages people to live once before you die, and spiritual
Live before you die.
Die before you die.
And the spiritual, yes.
Throw some light on what does that mean? Does it mean one?
So in the material world, they tell you live before you die. You're only here for some time.
YOLO philosophy. You live only once.
You live only once. Eat, drink, be merry, enjoy, travel the world, swim with the dolphins. Go to all the wonders of the world, experience everything. And then, before time runs out, do as many things as you can, because then you die. So that's what the world tells you. Live before you die. But actually, what we tell people in Krishna consciousness is die before you die. Because only when you kill your lust, your anger, your greed, your envy, your pride, your ego, only when you kill these things before you die, can you then, at the moment of death, enter into real life. Real life is with Krishna. Real life is in the eternal reality. Once I was in Vrindavan and I'd spent 1 month there. And then it was coming to the day before leaving, so I went to do Govardhan Parikrama. And at Govardhan Parikrama, I met one Brijabasi, and then he said to me, so will you stay now in Govardhan for the rest of your life? I said, no. I said, I would love to, but tomorrow I am going back to London. And then he looked down and he looked at me and he said, all reality outside of Vrindavan is a dream. And all dreams in Vrindavan are a reality. So he said, you throw away your ticket and you just stay here. I said, because I don't have your purity of vision, I have to go and do my service in London. But once I've become purified, I hope I'll be able to come back and see the real Vrindavan as you see it. Because Vishaya Chadiya Shuddha Kabe Haribe Man, isn't it? Narottam says. Unless you're purified of sense gratification, you cannot see Vrindavan. So when we tell people, die before you die, what we tell them is that if you actually want to experience life here, and if you actually want to experience life in eternity, you have to let your lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, all of these things have to go into the grave. Because while we have these types of emotion in our consciousness, we cannot experience what real life is. We will simply be prakriti shtani karshati. Life will be a struggle. What does Krishna say in the Gita? Mame vamsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana mana sastandriyani prakriti stani karshati. Karshati means a big struggle. So while we are having all of these anarthas, we're going to be struggling hard with the mind and the senses. One devotee once said to me, my mind during japa period is like a horror movie. I said, well, I can relate a little bit, you know. Our mind is like a horror movie. So many thoughts, so many desires, so many lamentations, so many attachments. So therefore, die before you die. Then you can really experience true life. Otherwise, jivanapi mrito hisaha. Bhagavatam says you're living, but actually you're dead. Living but dead. This is the land of the living dead. Because people think they're living, but there's no life, because they're completely controlled.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. And you had touched a little bit into holy name in the beginning, how you are mentioning the comparison between Mother Ganga that falls from the emanates from the feet, and the Gita that emanates from the mouth, and holy name that you are comparing how it touches right into the heart. You know, we hear a lot about the glorification of the holy name, where we, you know, describe, I mean, a lot of the devotees speak on that. And it is, I mean, it is mentioned by a lot of the devotees in the scriptures that holy name is greater than Krishna himself in his Kripa Shakti of being compassionate and merciful. That what Krishna directly does not do, it is done by the holy name itself. So we understand that, you know, Krishna is the source of all energy, all material and spiritual, anything that you think of comes from Krishna. How is it that I'm sure the power of the holy name itself is also an energy that is emanating from Krishna himself. But how is it that holy name intends to be more powerful than Krishna himself? Now,
where does that extra power that is not in Krishna, that is in holy name, where has that come from to make the holy name more powerful than Krishna himself?
Wow, powerful question. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddha Nitya Mukta Bhinnatvan Nama Namino. First thing is, we should not make a distinction between Krishna and his holy name, because Bhinnatvan Nama Namino. There is no difference between the Nam and the Namino, the person whose name we are chanting. Krishna is his holy name. One time a devotee I think he was giving a lecture, he was speaking to Srila Prabhupada, and he said, Krishna is in his holy name. And Prabhupada said, Krishna is in his holy name? Which part of the holy name is he in? He said, Krishna is his holy name. So therefore, Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, that yes, the name is Krishna. Kali Kaler Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar. This is Krishna. So let us first begin there by understanding that Krishna is his holy name. Now what happens is that Krishna in different forms, he displays different opulences. As Ram, he offers a certain opulence to the world. As Krishna, he offers a certain opulence. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he offers a certain opulence. Therefore, Ram is Maryada Avatar or Maryada Purushottam. Krishna is Leela Purushottam. Mahaprabhu is Prema Purushottam. And Nam is also Krishna's avatar, in which he is offering a very, very special opulence. So it's not that there is something in Nam that is not in Krishna. Krishna is perfect and complete. Om Purnam Purnamidam. Everything is in Krishna. But what happens when Krishna comes as the holy name, then he more freely opens up a certain Shakti of compassion and kindness that in other forms he does not necessarily give in that way. And therefore we find, yes, Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are non-different, but still Mahaprabhu is offering a certain type of mercy that even Krishna does not offer. Therefore, Mahaprabhu is known as Karuna Avatar. One devotee gave a very nice explanation of Karuna. He said there are different words for compassion or mercy. One is Karuna, another one could be Daya, another one could be Kripa. So he said, what is special about Karuna? And he said, Karuna is mercy that you get even if you don't ask for it. Kripa is mercy that you get, but you have to ask for it. Therefore we say, Gurudev, Kripa Bindu Diya. Please give me one drop of your mercy. But Karuna is mercy which comes to you when you don't even ask. And he gave the example that sometimes if you're in Mayapur, and if you want to get the mercy, then you come out of your room, you walk out of the complex, you go across the road, and then you go to Prabhupada Ghat and you bathe in the Ganga. But then what happens is in the rainy season, the Ganga overflows. And if you are so spaced out that you can't even get out of your bed, don't worry. Ganga will start flooding the buildings. And while you're sleeping in bed, Ganga will come and bathe you. That is Karuna. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Karuna Avatar. Anarpita chiram chirat karunaya vatirna kalo samarpayitum unatta jala rasam svabhakti shriyam. Very, very beautiful verse by Kaviraj Goswami saying that Mahaprabhu has come to give. And when Mahaprabhu comes to give, imagine Krishna who has come in the most merciful form, then Mahaprabhu spreads Nam. And Nam also then opens up Krishna's Kripa Shakti in such a way that even those who have no understanding, no inclination, even they are affected by Nam. There was one sannyasi, and before he became a Hare Krishna, he had a girlfriend. And they were living in Holland, in Amsterdam. And she had a dog, and the dog's name was Krishna. And the interesting thing is that what would happen at night is this dog would run away, run out of the house. And then she would tell him, go and find the dog. So there in the middle of night, in the streets of Amsterdam, he would be saying, Krishna, where are you? Krishna, come home. And in this way, he was chanting Krishna's names. And then later on, he met the devotees, and Krishna's names touched his heart. So Krishna's name has an incredible potency. Namno hi avati shakti, papanir harane hare, tavut kartum na shaknoti, patakam pataki naraha. So basically, in short answer to your question, Krishna and his holy name are non-different. And all the Shaktis within Krishna, in different forms of Krishna, are more readily available and more accessible even to those who are unqualified. And therefore in the form of Nam, Krishna is basically making his Shakti more available than to anyone else in any other form. And therefore, actually in Kali Yuga, our real deity is the holy name, actually. And therefore, Jiva Goswami says in any activity, unless we do it with the holy name, it won't become complete in Kali Yuga. Therefore, we do deity worship, but we chant. We do yagya, but we chant. In everything we do, we chant Krishna's names, because without that, in Kali Yuga, it won't work. Therefore, Kalo nasteva gatiranyata. Once we had this verse above the altar in the manor, so one English person came. So they were looking around, they saw, we explained all the pictures, everything. They said, oh, yeah, all the pictures makes complete sense. But one thing I don't understand, who is Ava? And why is she so nasty? For us it makes complete sense, but for a new person, nasty Ava. You can imagine over the altar, over the main spiritual place where you offer all your prayers. Nasty Ava, nasty Ava. He couldn't understand. So he said, no, this is ancient language, Sanskrit. Maybe last question, yes. Any Matajis would like to ask, we'll give you preference, or if not, then we'll defer here. Okay?
Great, thank you so much. Wonderful class. Yeah, first I want to add something and then I'll ask my question. So, to the point of people ask in the afternoon and here also how to focus. So I heard somewhere very good 3 points, that first is attraction, second is attention, and then third is absorption. So like if you are attracted to that topic, that is the first thing, you have to somehow become attracted to it, and that will be followed by attention, and then comes absorption. So this 3A principle,
Triple A.
Yeah.
Attraction, attention, and absorption. If you're attracted, then you'll be attentive. And if you're attentive, then you'll be absorbed. And sometimes it also works the other way around. If you give your attention, then you'll become attracted. And the more you become attracted, eventually you'll become attached and absorbed. So sometimes even when we don't have attraction, if we at least give our attention, then through that attentive oral reception, then what will happen is that attraction will come, because Srila Prabhupada said we have jaundice, and therefore sweet things taste very bitter. So you can't wait for the sweet taste to come. Maybe that attraction will never come. But if you keep eating attentively, then what will happen is eventually the attraction will come. So yeah. Yes.
So followed by the question. So you explained very nicely that how we should not lament about the past and hanker about the future. But even in present, Maharaj, we see so many things that come your way, whether you like or not. For example, the things happening around you, right, in the world, that have the power to disturb you and disrupt you. So how, as a practicing devotee, we learn to tune out these things so that we can focus on our sadhana, we can focus on our spiritual life and not become too bothered by those or carried away by those happenings that are happening around us all the time. And I can give you some examples like which happened with me yesterday. So I met in my community, a border patrol agent lives who works for Homeland Security here. And he was telling me, this year alone, 2 million illegals have come into the country. And he was telling me it's time to buy guns. And I was like, oh Krishna. I mean, he was so, and it's a fact. I mean, imagine in a country 2 million people come. They're just coming from all over the world, right? So, and then
So you're saying these kind of things distract you?
Distract, or somebody, one of my Sikh friend, he was complaining, all this is happening, government is killing people, he was basically venting to me, like the minorities are being troubled and all these, so I heard him.
So all these disturbing incidences around us distract us.
Yeah.
See, it all depends how you perceive these situations. You can see it as a distraction from Krishna consciousness, or you can see it as a encouraging reality. Let's not say let's say inconvenient reality that is pushing you to take more shelter and get out of this place.
Urgency.
Yeah. Once there was a donkey and it had fell into a ditch, a hole, and it was calling out, but no one could hear. Hitvat mapatam. Sometimes it's mentioned like that in the Bhagavad Gita. Materialistic life is like you're fallen into a dark hole and you're crying and no one will hear you. And then to make matters worse, the donkey saw that someone was throwing dirt into the hole. You think like, oh my God, I'm already in the hole. And now I'm going to be buried alive. Like this is just getting from bad to worse. But then what the donkey started thinking differently and thought, let's see if we can use this. So when the dirt came down, what the donkey did is it piled all the dirt to one side and then stepped on it. And then more dirt came, and then the donkey piled it to the other side and then stepped on it. And then more dirt came, and like this, the donkey came out. So from the donkey thinking, I'm in a bad situation and it's getting even worse, then the donkey realized, hang on, it can get really, really good because I can use all of this to get out. So Srila Prabhupada said this material world is no place for a gentleman. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was known for the chopper technique, he was a real sadhu with sharp words. So he said it in no uncertain terms. This world is like a toilet. You do your business and then you get out. Sorry to be so graphic. Sometimes it's required. So when we see all of these things, either we can see it as a distraction or we can see it confirmed. Mamupetya punarjanma dukhalayam ashashvatam. Don't try and make this world a happy place. It's doomed. It's rubber stamped. The script is already written. Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukha doshan darshanam. So for a devotee, none of these things surprise them anymore. If you're surprised by the crazy things happening in the world, it means you haven't read Bhagavad Gita. So like sometimes we read the news, oh my God, Kali Yuga, Kali Yuga. You know, sometimes devotees get into Kali Yuga Katha. Prabhu, it's so bad, it's getting really bad. Prabhu, you don't realize, this problem. Did you see the news? Oh my God. If you read Bhagavad Gita, you'll realize this whole world is a disaster zone. So therefore, like that, let us use all the challenges to develop more urgency. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki Jaya. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kipasindubhya evacha Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you so much.